Hi everyone, today we are going to make olive oil chocolate chip cookies. The recipe was created by Rebecca Firth. She is known as the Displaced Housewife. You can find her recipes on Instagram under the Displaced Housewife or on the internet at thedisplacedhousewife.com. She's also the author of the Cookie Book, which is my very favorite baking cookbook. I have made a lot of the recipes in here. It's pretty reasonable buy, so I think you might even be able to find it at the public library if you get to go. But I love all the cookies in here. I love all her pictures. This is my very favorite book to cook out of. So, when you are making cookies, the first thing to do is to combine the dry ingredients. So in here we have 1.5 cups of bread flour. We have a cup of regular all-purpose flour. Now it's really important that you do use bread flour for this recipe. It makes a nice, thicker, chewier cookie. And then we are going to add to it a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a teaspoon of salt. We're just gonna pour it in, and then we are going to, whisk it all together, and then we will set it aside. Now I like olive oil chocolate chip cookies because you do not have to wait for the butter to soften. Instead, you can just make it when you feel like it. So into the mixing bowl, we are going to add the sugars. 3/4 of a cup brown sugar, 3/4 of a cup white granulated sugar. So put those in there, grab the big whisk, and also by using olive oil, you don't have to use an electric mixer for these cookies, nor do you have to break your arm trying to combine the butter if you don't have a mixer. So we're just quickly whisking the sugars together, and then we are going to pour in the olive oil. Now it's really important that you use a good quality olive oil. I am using California Olive Ranch extra virgin olive oil. It is a fresh and fruity one. It's going to give the cookies a really nice flavor. You can buy it at Vons for sure. So I'm going to pour in the olive oil. And then I'm quickly going to whisk it together. And just really quick, just don't splash anything around until it's combined. And then we're going to add 2 eggs, one at a time. And remember, you always need to crack the eggs into a separate container, because if one of the eggs is rotten and you crack it into your cookie dough, then your cookie dough is going to end up rotten and you'll have to throw it out and start all over again. So really quick, whisk the egg in. Add the second egg. Whisk it around again just until it's combined. You don't want to see any traces of yellow. And make sure you kind of scrape up along the sides. Okay, now we are going to add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And remember, I'm messy, so I always make sure I pour over a little bowl so I don't end up with vanilla extract. So look at that on the counter, but guess what? I did anyway. There we go. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Whisk it around again. Now literally, it takes less than 10 minutes to make this cookie dough. That's another reason why I like it. All right, it's all combined. Shake off your whisk. Then grab your dry ingredients. Pour them in. Now, when you are adding dry ingredients to wet ingredients, don't get in and violently stir it. That's gonna mess up everything and you're gonna end up with a really tough cookie dough. Just sort of gently fold the flour into your mixture. But if you beat it really hard, you're going to end up with flour everywhere. We don't want that. We just want to quickly combine it. Now, before adding the chocolate chips, and you can use dark chocolate chips, you can use dark chocolate chunks, you can use semi-sweet. I've actually cut up a bunch of dark chocolate candy bars. I like chunks in my cookie. And you don't want it completely mixed, okay? Just scrape the sides, get most of it mixed together. You still want to see streaks of flour. Because again, over mixing your cookie dough means you get a really tough cookie dough. So I have 1.5 cups of chopped dark chocolate. Trader Joe's has a really nice dark chocolate little mini bars they sell. And I like to use those, just chop them up. And then gently fold the chocolate into the mixture. Now, you can bake the cookies right away if you want. I never do that. If you want a really nice, perfectly formed cookie with lots of flavor and texture, you need to refrigerate your cookie dough. Almost every single cookie I make, I refrigerate the cookie dough at least 4 hours, but usually overnight. People always ask me, why do your cookies taste so good? And honestly, it's because I refrigerate the cookie dough. So we are going to grab a container with a lid. We're going to put in the cookie dough. Now, if you did choose to bake it right away, you will end up with very, very big, wide cookies, and that's fine. There is nothing wrong with that. I just like refrigerating my cookie dough. So, I'm gonna put it in the container. Looks just like this. Give it one more stir. And it is actually gonna go in the refrigerator overnight, because guess what? It's 10 o'clock at night. Mrs. Ramos bakes at night because that's when my house is quiet. All my dogs are asleep and so is my husband. So I'm gonna put the lid on it. I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator and I'm gonna bake these cookies tomorrow. So I'll see you in about 24 hours to bake the cookies. All right, our cookie dough is nice and chilled, and yes, if you look at the bowl, there is some missing. I had to give some to my mother. She has a standing order. Anytime I make cookie dough, I give her some too. So I'm gonna take a spoon, and I just use a regular sized teaspoon, scoop it in. This is about 2 tablespoons worth of dough. I'm gonna use my very clean hands, shape it into a ball, and place it on the cookie sheet. I have lined my cookie sheet with parchment paper because this is not a non-stick cookie sheet. If you do have a non-stick cookie sheet, you don't need parchment paper. You can still use parchment paper because guess what? Then you don't have to wash the cookie sheet. And we all know Mrs. Ramos has a tendency to be lazy. So I'm gonna scoop out a couple more. I usually do 6 on a tray because that gives us more room for the cookies to spread. You don't want to cram your cookie doughs very close, you don't want to cram your cookie dough balls close together. You want to leave plenty of room for them to spread out. So 6 cookies on a tray, and then we are going to bake them in the oven at 375 for 11 minutes. All right. Push a little bit off, that was big. And there they are. I'll see you when they come out. Cookies are done. They baked for a little less than 11 minutes, probably about 9. Do you see why I like to use chopped up chocolate bar? You get these big, beautiful puddles of chocolate in your cookie. The edges are set. The inside is still a little soft because these cookies are gonna sit on the baking sheet for another 10 minutes and finish cooking. If you try to bake your cookies all the way through in the oven, then they will end up hard and crunchy. And there's nothing worse than a hard, crunchy cookie. So make sure your edges are set, but your middle is still a little underdone. Next time, we're either going to make a pie or chocolate caramel squares. Not sure which one. See you then.